What are you telling me, my people? It's your boy Jason out here, man. Welcome to the Bala Show. This is a Premier League roundup. Looking at halfway through the season, exploring different things. You know, like top goal scorers, predictions for the rest of the season. You know, Arsenal are doing bits as well at the moment. Keep it humble, my brother. But anyways, I'm welcoming my brother Jake Toya to the house. How you doing, my guy?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. How's everything? How's life? How's
Yeah,
everything?
good. All good. Very busy. Very busy. It's a busy time of year in football at the minute, and it's uh, like I said, just busy. Can't complain though. Always happy.
Hey, man, can't complain, boy. Obviously, you know, you're a Luton fan as well. How's your team doing
Yes.
at the moment?
It wasn't the best result today. I 2-0 up inside 20 minutes, and then conceding 3 goals later in the game. It was upsetting to see us throw away a 2 goal lead like that at home as well, especially. So yeah, upset, but we move. It's all
We
good.
move, we move. It's all good, man. It's all good. But we're talking about the Premier League, bro. You'll be there quite soon, and you're in the playoff spot as well. I'm guessing.
Um, We're in the picture. We're in the picture. I'll be happy to get there 2 seasons in a row, but I doubt it.
Nah, man. Fingers crossed, man. Luton's in the Prem, man, so that we can do our
We'll
drafts
see.
together. We can put Luton
Yeah, we'll
players.
see. We'll see.
Ian in the back. Luke, is that Luke Berry still
Yes,
in the club as well?
Luke Berry is still at the club. Yeah, I'm gonna try and do my absolute best to get a signed shirt from Luke Berry as well. Hopefully, we'll see.
How did you get McGeegan's signed shirt as well? How did you get that?
So he played for Luton back a while ago. Back when I had this shirt, I think it was around 2014. I think it was maybe 2015, and I reached out to him on Instagram and just said, "Look, I'm a massive fan of yours. Been tracking your career as he's gone into Belgium, and I just reached out and asked if he could sign an old shirt of mine, and there we go. Now it's on my wall."
Oh, how did you reaching out? That's actually mad.
Yeah, well, he's not. It's not like reaching out to a Premier League player that's got millions of followers. He's still got a fair few followers. I think he's got like over 10K followers. But when you get a message from
Yeah,
people that are big fans of yours, and back from when he played at Luton, which was in his very early days in his career, I think he must appreciate the reception.
that's good. That's good, man. Jeez, moving up in the world, man. Moving up in the
Yeah,
world.
that's it.
Obviously, you've been like looking around, and you were ex Premier League. What's up?
Yes, yeah. So I was previously contracted by a Premier League club as a recruitment consultant. Was with them for around 18 months, following their journey from the EFL up to the Premier League, and where they're doing really well at the moment. So yeah, all is good.
He's doing bits in the world, man. Obviously, that's good to hear, man, my guy. And also, like in terms of like the Premier League this season, it's been highly
Hmm.
competitive. Looking
Yes.
at the obviously top six as well. Top six is also the predictions that you may have like previously at the start
Mm.
of the season. It may have kind of like changed by now, I'm guessing, as well as like like the mid-table around the mid-table mark as well, and then also the
Yeah.
relegation as well. Yeah, things has kind of like really changed, and there's a lot of twists and turns on the season as went by. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask, what was your stance this season actually?
My predictions at the start of the season was City to win the league. Um, I said it was a City Liverpool 1 and 2, and I had my top four to be those two with Spurs and Arsenal as the top four, and then I had Southampton, Bournemouth, and Forest to go down.
Jeez, I think you kind of got the predictions a little bit. It was all right, you know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's still a long way left to go. I still feel like Man City will win the league, personally speaking, although they lost today against Man United, which we will touch upon
Or,
shortly, I'm sure.
they win the
But
league, yeah.
yeah, no, I honestly think that they still, because they've still got to play Arsenal twice, and although yes,
100%.
things may change, I still feel like they might pinch it. But it's really competitive, and it's nice to see Arsenal doing as well, because I'm a big fan of their ethos and the way they run things there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because I thought the same thing actually. Because coming into the season, I predicted us to finish fifth because of the way we kind of bottled the season itself, and obviously, and we haven't really qualified in the Champions League for a couple of years,
Okay.
5 years, 5, 6 years. So I was thinking, it could be the same old story.
Only fifth though.
I would say only
You
fifth,
only thought fifth. Okay.
or even lower than that.
Really?
I would say even lower than that because obviously,
Even with the business over the summer, like everything that had been done, like still only fifth. I thought I had personally had them fourth, although yes, only one place higher. I had them in the Champions League.
I mean, if you have followed us like throughout the years, obviously last season, the only thing the things that kind of like let us down would be our squad depth. I mean, like if any players are like if any key players are injured as well, such as Partey, as well as another striker that is being needed. Obviously, Gabriel Hayes, fantastic signing. But
Yeah.
The backup is with Nketiah, but that's a significant drop off from Jesus to Nketiah.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have in the team, Jesus or Nketiah?
Of course. Yeah.
Also, on the left-hand side, I would say the left-hand side, we have Martinelli on the left. But obviously, Smith Rowe's coming back. And we need a backup right as well under Saka. Who's going to replace Saka? Is it Nelson? Because Nelson's like, obviously, he's a really good player. But like the levels between Saka and Nelson are significant. And I feel like bench as well, looking at the bench, I feel like who do you think will come on? Like, I would say Fabio Vieira at best. That's all I would say.
Okay.
That's one of my reasons as well. And Mikel Arteta never. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say I've got it wrong, but I mean, there's half a season to go. But
are you still in the Arteta out bandwagon? Are you still going?
No. I wouldn't say Arteta out bandwagon. I just want to see how he does this season. Actually, I mean, so far he exceeded their expectations. Like even the most hardcore Arteta fans, they never expected us in that place. There will be, the minimum that I would be expecting would be third or fourth, but being top of the league, which is 5 points clear, and winning tomorrow would be putting us 8 points clear. But I would be biting your hand for that. Like, this is something great that we're building at the moment with the likes of Saliba coming back. Like he's one of our best performing centre backs in the league. There's quite a few things that has been added, but at the same time, we need a lot of players this January, and it's a bit mad, isn't it? It's a bit mad.
No, it's been a really interesting season. Like to look at the table and see that Liverpool and Chelsea are down in 9th and 10th combined, and Fulham, Brighton, and Brentford being all above those, and the three spots above them is amazing. I love how competitive it is this season.
That's good. That's good because obviously that's just it shows like you must have like put a lot of Liverpool players on your fantasy team as well.
Do you know what I fancied? I was one of the few people that actually left Mo Salah out of the team at the start of the season. If you were asking me, I'm one of those people that would have Darwin Nunez in personally, because I'm a big into my numbers, and I loved looking at his stats from last season in the Portuguese league, and just seeing how positive he is as a forward. And even looking at it this season, he's not, although there's been a lot of controversy around him and missing big chances, I do feel like he has to hone that side of his game. Like from a very selfish point of view, he has to hone that side of his game, and his decision making has to be better. But I still feel like to get in it's like a Timo Werner, to get in those positions and be as good as he can be in and around the box, he's got to be something special. So I predict very good things for him in his short career in the Premier League.
I feel like with Darwin Nunez, I feel like with him, like you can say he's a donkey in it, but at the same time, I feel like there's a bit of a player there. I think like
massively.
There's a player in there. I feel like, I mean, like with the seasons that he had for Benfica, he scored 6 goals. in his first season, and then it will be
Mm.
the next season was like 26 and 28. I feel like he's just
Yeah.
trying to adjust to the Premier League itself. But
Yeah.
I feel there's certain stuff, like you said, he's a Timo Werner style of player.
Yeah.
Like he has the tools and materials to improve in that side of things. And there's a player in there, so it's just a little bit of
No,
confidence.
for sure. I think I don't think he's similar in the play style to Timo Werner. I feel like he's on that same sort of. There's the level of expectation that's come from him. Obviously, the price tag has a massive part to play in that, but also the club that he's at and the expectation coming from, like you said, 25 plus goals in the Portuguese league and the hype. Like, he's still only a young player. He's performed well in Europe last season when he was at Benfica, and there was a lot of expectation on his shoulders as he come into Liverpool. It's like I said, with the price tag that was paid for him, but also just as the player that he is as well. He's a very passionate, hot-headed player, and he's a very like the Uruguayan that preceded him, that came in before him, Luis Suarez.
Absolutely.
They're both very, very good strikers, and I genuinely can see him playing very well next season if he can get a good run of form in the team. But when Jota comes back fit, when he gets a good run of games, Gakpo being a really, really strong signing as well. The depth that Liverpool have is very, very good.
I would say that I feel like with Liverpool, right? I felt like they're not when I predicted in the top 4 predictions. So my predictions were like, I think it was Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham. I think it was like, and United as well. I put United in top 4 as well. With them, I mean, I feel like Liverpool losing Mane, I said that I felt like they'll finish third or something. Like they're not going to be the same because like Mane, when they had Mane, that's at the focal point in their team. I feel like the play just goes through him. He's tracking back and forward. I feel like he was one of the best wingers in the league last season. And taking that goals is like a huge burden from him. I feel like they struggle to score goals nowadays.
Well, I think the problem is that they've with Mo Salah being as good as he was before the African Cup of Nations, he was running away with he was scoring goals for fun, providing goals. I remember that Man United game where he scored a hat-trick, being one of the key performances for him in the season. And then when he come back from the African Cup of Nations, I think he only scored 4 or 5 goals tops when he come back. So Mane did have to carry the goal scoring burden that Salah had left on him, and this season especially, like when you look at the likes of the top goal scorers in the league, obviously being Manchester City with 46, Arsenal behind them with 40. Liverpool have scored 34 goals. I think the problem is defensively. They've conceded far too many goals. They've conceded 25 goals. Conceded 25 goals this season with the 2 or 3 best defenses in the league. Obviously, Manchester City, Newcastle, and Arsenal, 11, 18, and 14 goals. So there's a bit. They need to get the defense in shape.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. And also in terms of because obviously in terms of that, like their midfielders are also like there's holes in that midfield. Aging midfield itself, Fabinho is not his best for the last 18 months itself, and Thiago, made of glass, keep on getting injured. Keita, I mean, Thiago is obviously he's a really good player itself, but obviously injury problem as well, and also Keita as well. That he's hardly there. Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's injured as well, always injured. They need a little bit more bodies in that midfield area. Obviously, they signed Cody Gakpo this January. I just need to get 2 or 3 midfielders done.
The big signing is Bellingham. That's the one that's been the last year to 18 months. That's been the one that they've wanted, and I think it will be between Liverpool and Real Madrid as to who he signs for in the summer.
That's the thing. Strong shots for Liverpool in terms of family lives in England. It makes sense.
Yeah.
it makes sense for him coming to England as well from
Yeah,
coming because obviously he played a lot abroad in Germany as well.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's good to see him in the Premier League. English player.
Hmm.
Centre mid. Why not? Why not try out in the Premier League?
Hmm.
Liverpool. And also, like in terms of your surprise package of the season, actually, what was your surprise package of the season that you impressed you the most?
It's like I said, it's been a season of a lot of surprises. Again, like before we go on to the results, like talking about later, I think for me it's been Fulham. I'd have to say I did think they'd do well because Mitrovic. I've got Mitrovic is a top striker, and obviously him blowing away Ivan Toney's record that was set the season before of highest goals being scored. Yeah, he played absolutely incredibly well last season, and he's carried on that form into the Premier League. I remember when Fulham were there last season, the last season they played, everybody was touting Mitrovic to carry Fulham well with their results and be the goal scoring threat that he was in the Championship because he makes it look too easy at that level. But he didn't provide as much. But now he's firing on all cylinders, and as well, I think Fulham have recruited really well in the window.
The ball,
Obviously,
like
they
the
made a
ball
lot of signings in the summer.
Pereira as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I thought it was going to
it's
be
a really
flopping,
good signing. Oh no, it was a really good signing because although he's not had a lot of Premier League experience, he's a really good technical player. He can deliver a really good set play.
yeah,
I think he's really shone this season. I didn't think he'd be as good as he has been, but I think with the team that Fulham have got and how good they are from set plays and the promise that they can bring when playing attacking football. Because I remember in the Championship, obviously being a Luton fan, they beat us 7-0 towards the end of the season,
yeah, 7-0, yeah.
and it was entertaining to watch the game from a neutral perspective, but very obviously upsetting from my perspective being a Luton fan. But for me they've been the surprise package with how well they recruited in the window. With obviously Willian, you've got Kenny. They've recruited really well in the window. They've kept a really good squad from last season. Obviously, defensively, Tim Ream is an absolute rock at the back for them as well, being his
USA.
experience really good. Yeah, USA. Yeah, Kenny Tete at right back, really really good player. Anthony Robinson, their left back. Them two would just get up and down on that touchline. Supporting the wingers. Harry Wilson he was probably the most creative player in that team last season. He's not even getting a game at the minute, obviously partly due to injury at the start of the season, but
They used to have
also
Carvalho.
exactly Carvalho, if he was in that team, they'd probably be just as good as they are now. But Pereira's come in and helped that. Obviously signing Willian, Dan James, Livan Kazawa from PSG.
He signed for Fulham. I thought he was.
Yeah, he's at Fulham. Yeah, no, he went to Fulham, and he's not played too many games for them this season, but they've got a really good, like, the depth. It's like Notts Forest. They signed quite a few players, but it may have been on loan or whatever like that. But they've signed some really good players over in the summer, like Manor Solomon from the Ukrainian league. From Shakhtar, the Israeli international. He's a really, really good player, young player, very well touted across Europe. And although, his season's been hampered by injury, but when he can come into the squad and cause stuff, make some issues for a lot of teams in the league. And I think that, their depth, like Carlos Vinicius, is a very similar player to Mitrovic in his stature and his physical profile as well. Like, obviously scoring in the week against Chelsea. So I think the problem wasn't at the start of the season was replacing Mitrovic's goals if he was ever to be unfit. If not Mitrovic actually scoring the same amount of goals, and he's obviously performing very well, which is great to see.
It's good to see. I think they're sixth in the table as well.
They are, yeah, that's right.
I feel like even defensively, they're like. I went to the game this season before. I mean, obviously, I'm Arsenal. I came to see, but they were struggled. They're basically hard to break down as well.
Yeah.
They're so hard to. I mean, did they used to have Anguissa as well? Is he still in the squad?
Yeah, Frank. He's playing for Napoli at the moment. They sold him off
Oh, sold him off. He was a
over
quality.
to they sold him to Napoli over. I think it was either this summer or the summer before.
That's mad. I mean, in terms of my other shocks would be my other surprise as well would be like Brighton.
Really?
Brighton or Brentford as well. I feel like Brentford is one of them.
I would have said that for those two, I think in and around that, I would have said the lowest for both those clubs would be around 11th for me. I think they're two very well run clubs. Like again, Brentford they didn't buy many players at the start of the last window, but then they wanted to cement themselves as a very good Premier League side, just stay in the league wherever they could. And obviously they had a really good season as it was, but now they've had a really good window recruiting some really, really, really strong players. And obviously Brighton are a very, very well run club as well with their recruitment. Obviously, with Graham Potter leaving over this to Chelsea in the winter, they brought in De Zerbi, who's an absolutely top manager. Obviously, he's been he's a good manager in the sense of his style of play, his in possession style of play is really, really promising. But as well, it was the out of possession that's probably what's done really well for Brighton since he's come in. Really, really good.
That's good though. I mean, the way they're playing at the moment, they still. I feel like they transitioned after Graham Potter left and De Zerbi coming in. I feel like they're playing. They transitioned with that play really well.
Yeah.
Like Caicedo, Trossard is there. There's quite a few people. There's quite a few players that you can pick out in that Brighton team as well.
Yeah.
With that, like also, they still have Danny Welbeck as well. Oh, Mitoma as well. That Mitoma guy.
He scored today. Yeah, Welbeck scored today. Yeah, he scored today.
Yeah, I think like 3 matches in a row or something.
Yeah, he's doing well for himself.
He's a mad one after the World Cup, though. This guy's a special player. I feel like they they're really good at finding gems. They have a really good scouting team as well.
Yeah, they do. They do have a really good scouting network. Yeah.
They have a really good scouting network as well, and likewise with Brentford. In terms of like scouting Danish players as well, like that's their market, right?
Yeah.
Young Danish players, which is around 15 to 20 million mark across.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones. I think the rise of Premier League teams are actually is good to see because you can see that not all money would be not chucking all this money would be the promised land, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, of course.
For example, we can move on to Chelsea as well. Like for example, Chelsea, in terms of their season, boy, they're in the mud, innit?
I'd say they're in a sticky patch at the moment. I think they've got the quality in their squad to get out of the rut that they're in. I just think that Potter needs a good run of results. He's got a difficult set. That Chelsea have got a difficult set of fixtures coming up in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Unfortunately for them, and they might have to go through a difficult time before they can pick up their results.
Boy.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll be honest. When I saw Joao Felix play, I was very impressed. I'll be honest with you. Aside his stupid tackle that he put in on Kenny Tete, I thought he looked really good. I thought it was a bit of a strange signing to bring him in, but obviously he doesn't.
They stole our signing.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously doesn't get on well with Diego Simeone, who's declared he's leaving potentially at the end of the season, as well as Felix signing a new deal. So it's obviously he wants. Yeah, exactly. So he wanted to get some more game time, and Chelsea obviously needing a forward player. They need some goals. They need a creative spark, obviously, with their injury troubles they're having as well. They need something going for them, and I think he's never been an out and out goal scorer as a 9, but he's a very creative player and will be up there with the goal contributions.
I mean, because that's what Chelsea really need in terms of their midfielders have been a little bit stagnant with the likes of Jorginho is kind of aging, Kante's injury. What's his name again? Ruben Loftus-Cheek is not the guy making Chelsea's tick. I feel like, I mean, he's a good player, but I feel like he kind of ruined it. How old is he now? 26 now?
Loftus-Cheek is mid-20s, I believe.
Mid-20s, and he's still at Chelsea. Boy, I feel like he should be like going down to another Premier League side that is on the rise.
I think it would probably it would suit him well because he needs the consistent game time because he's
Mm.
a frustrating player. He's very good on the ball. He's built very well, can run with the ball very well. But he's the out of possession side that he struggles with at times. I think the problem is, and although Chelsea did play him at right wing back a few times, I think he was, as it's not his first position, found out a little bit.
And with that Reece James missing on that side as well, that is
Yeah.
huge blow because into that all that creativity that comes from that side itself.
Yeah,
it's a massive blow, and you know, and even Fofana's out as well.
Yeah.
And their defense is a shambles at the moment. and obviously they added the likes of Mudryk now.
Is that confirmed?
Confirmed, yeah. I think.
Is it really? Oh wow.
Yeah, I think it's out of the blue. Even I found out like literally a few hours ago. So like,
yeah,
Mudryk, Chelsea, so it's 100 million euros.
I saw that it was. I saw that they were coming in for an offer, but I didn't know it's been confirmed.
To be fair, Arsenal bid 95 million and 90 plus. I mean 70 plus like add 20 million. That comes down to like 95 million actually, and then Chelsea just blew us out of the water. They bought like 30 million.
I remember seeing in the news about a year ago that Brentford were after this Ukrainian player Mikhailo Mudryk, and I didn't know much about him. I'd seen him play. I watched him play for Shakhtar in the Champions League against Real Madrid. He looked really bright, and I thought, wow, good player. But I never would have thought he would be 88. Well, it says on here, I'm just on the Sky's website now, 88.5 million transfer to come to Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about the signing anyway itself? Like, would that be Chelsea? Do Chelsea really need that signing, or
having looked at the player itself, I think I'm a big fan of him. I like his play. He can play either wing. He's a right-footed winger who normally plays off the left and inverts. He's very good running with the ball. He's quite small, so he's got a low center of gravity, but can run with the ball really, really well. He's a progressive player, so he doesn't just set up goals; he can score goals as well. And he's a very creative player as well. I think Chelsea could do with a player like that. He's young. He's got a lot of talent, and he's got a lot of talent ahead of him. But as well as being able to show that now, and he's got European experience as well. And for such a young age to be an international as well, he looks very, very promising.
That's mad. Yeah, that's actually mad. Like, I mean, it improves their attack as well. It looks whenever I watch Chelsea play, it looks a little bit flimsy, a little bit like lackluster and stuff like that. So I'm just like, you know, with Aubameyang up top, he's stagnated as well. Like, obviously, he's after his time with Arsenal, you know, I mean, but he had a really good spell at Barcelona. Then Chelsea, the number 9 curse hits real, and yeah, man, I feel like adding those two players that we were initially about to sign. I know it's a bit of a piss, but I think that would actually lift that mood at Chelsea. But however, they do need a centre midfielder and a right back as well, right back cover, and a few defensive options as well, just to, you know, maintain that squad actually that is progressing. But obviously, obviously that's a disappointing as well. I mean, they lost their last 6 games.
Yeah, they're not looking too good at the moment.
So yeah, I mean, to be fair, with Graham Potter, people saying Graham Potter out, blah blah blah. But all I'm saying that Graham Potter is a good coach, actually. You know,
I agree.
There's a coach in there, but it's just bad luck that, you know, he walked into that Chelsea team with a lot of problems, disarray. You know, dressing room, like you can tell the players are not playing for the manager. You can tell, like, you know, their egos. I don't know. Is it interesting how he's going to deal with that egos with the likes of big stars around that club?
Yeah, I think I was shocked by the sacking of Tuchel. I think that wasn't obviously, I know Chelsea weren't doing very well results wise at the start of the season. But I feel like Tuchel, from his managerial career in the past, from Dortmund and at PSG, obviously two very big clubs in their domestic leagues respectively, but
Yeah,
he's a very good coach. He's very good tactically. And one of their key signings of the summer in Aubameyang was signed because they thought that they could get control of him under Tuchel, which is where he played so well at Dortmund. And unfortunately, within I think 10 games of the new season,
yeah.
he was let go, and
It's like 10
I
games.
was shocked considering I think it was around 10 games that he was let go.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind he won them a Champions League, and everybody expected. I think everybody expected City to win that. I'll be honest, I was in that boat as well, massively. I was in that boat, but yeah, he won them a Champions League, and very very shocked to see him go.
Wow. Yeah, I know it's sad. I mean, after that, like the players kind of turned on him as well. I mean, the players basically. I mean, there was sad. There was some of the players were sad to let him go, see him go, but
Yeah,
at the same time, I feel like Potter's a different.
I don't
He's a,
know. The thing, without knowing what actually goes on, I try not to read too much into what the papers publish and stuff like that, because having been at clubs, having been at like I said, working within a Premier League club, even though I was working from home for them, I still didn't know what was going on. Having been there, I just got
yeah,
got the different players to have a look at, and that was about it. Like, I didn't know what went on behind the scenes, and working in the football league like I am now for the club that I'm at, doing the analysis there. I'm in and around the first team when I visit the training ground quite frequently, and I
yeah,
some of the papers that publish, people will pay them to make stories like that, just to circulate rumors, and it's disappointing. But I don't like to read into that too much. I think the main problem for Chelsea this season has been their injury crisis. Obviously, with Chilwell being inconsistently fit. Obviously, Cucurella was a great sign, and I think it was a good bit of business. 50 million is a bit of an expensive price tag, but they've got two really good left back / left wing backs. And yeah, they've lost a massive player in N'Golo Kante in that midfield, and he's only played a few games this season, and their injury crisis has really suffered this season.
absolutely. Yeah, that is it's a bit mad so far. Like, I mean, where do you think they will finish the season? Actually, like with
I hope because I like Chelsea's shape. I like the formation that they played. I like them under Tuchel. I think they're always a bit of a boring side to watch, but they always used to grind out the results. Obviously, in the success under Tuchel, and when they won the Premier League under Conte as well, they would always grind out wins, be solid defensively, like they were last season. Obviously, Edouard Mendy struggling a lot this season, and Kepa coming back into the side as well.
boy,
I hope so. I can imagine them finishing 6th or 7th, personally.
going back up with the signings of Jao Felix as well. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I mean, they still need to address that key problems. But once they do,
yeah.
we can, there's a lot more things in the window that's come by. But yeah, we're moving on to like the other two clubs, Manchester United and Manchester City, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean all the rest of the Premier League teams in the
Mm-hmm.
top around the top six itself. So, firstly, going off with Tottenham, obviously they had their best start in the of the season.
Yeah.
But after the game against us, they kind of like dropped off, and then Conte fossil football as well going through. Literally like starting off games shite, giving like 2-0 leads, and then coming back in the second half FC basically. Yeah, what do you think?
I love your bias. I love your bias.
I mean, yeah, I'm not that biased. I'll say it how it is, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's still that element. There's still that element of the Arsenal fan in you coming out. But no, I'm again, problems defensively is their key struggles. I think goal scoring isn't the issue with them. It's their defensive record where they need to tighten up. I think they've got the players. They've got a really good group of players. The depth is a lot better than last season. Again, it's just other teams picking up results and picking up points where Tottenham haven't been able to seal victories or see out wins. Like you said, they started the season very well, but they just don't start games very well by the looks of it. I think the signing of Richarlison over the summer, again for a quite a high price tag, I think is a really good signing from a Premier Division rival. And again, showing the depth in Europe is so important with because he doesn't just play in that 9 role. He plays in one of the 2 positions behind the front player as well. I really like Kulusevski. I really like their front 3 in Son, Kane, and Kulusevski. But then that addition of Richarlison has helped a lot. I think Bissouma was a really good bit of business, especially for the price they paid as well. Like 2 seasons before, they were looking for 50 million off of Arsenal, and they almost got there. Defensively, I think they've got some good players. Romero is a bit of a wild card for me. He's not the most traditional defender, but he gets the job done. He's old fashioned in the sense that he's quite reckless. He's a bit of he's a very passionate player, wears his heart on his sleeve. Ben Davies has had a bit of a resurgence as a left-sided centre-back in that back 3. Obviously, with his height, he does really well, and as he's a good fullback as well, he's a good progressor of the ball, which is why he's done so well in that outside centre-back place. Perisic, really good signing, really, really big fan of him. Both-footed, can play off the right or the left, but obviously he predominantly plays off the left. And can invert as a wing back as well, can play as that extra player in the middle of midfield if needs be, just to create the overloads when Spurs look to play out from the back. I think they've got a good group of players, and it's just they need to solve the issue of finishing games and keeping those leads. Like Villa was a massive issue for them in recent times where they conceded 2 goals. They need to just sort themselves out, just finishing games well.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, like obviously moving on to Tottenham, like in terms of their next game, which is against Arsenal, obviously with Arsenal. What do you think about the game that is coming by? Actually,
I always think that it's such, like, in these rivalry games, like you'd have thought that Man City would go in after playing so well against Chelsea 2 times in the space of a week or week and a half. Although a drop in form against Everton, but you'd have thought, having played so well against Chelsea after their 4-0 win, I think in the FA Cup last week, I genuinely would have had them go into the game well. But Man United have won their last 5 in a row in the league, playing really, really, really well. And yeah, they surprised me. And like Arsenal and Tottenham, there's always that special element in derby football. And I genuinely can't predict games like this. I normally predict them like 1-0 either side or 2-1 either side. I'm never able to predict a clear winner. Regardless of, like, Tottenham's form, they've lost 2 in the last 5, won 2 in the last 5, and drawn 1 as well. Whereas Arsenal have won 4 and drawn their last game. So it's really interesting. I think
absolutely.
I can't decide.
Absolutely, because obviously going to the game, form goes out the window. Actually, form doesn't add up. Like whatever team just comes up, and it's going to be interesting, obviously, because obviously this week and next week are going to be the most crucial for Arsenal itself.
Yeah,
obviously Manchester United versus City. Obviously, that's going to be a twist. Obviously, that was a twist itself. So it's our turn to basically react towards Tottenham as well, and basically it's flip the other way around. So next week is Tottenham, City, Arsenal, United next week, and it's going to be absolutely interesting how it's either going to be top 4 or title race coming through. And there's a lot of pressure that come towards us, and it's basically how we turn up tomorrow. I mean, obviously, with Arsenal, we have a really poor record against Tottenham in terms
Hmm.
of going at their place. We don't really usually get a result out of their place as well. So, and but this is a completely different Arsenal team actually. With
Yeah, agreed.
the way we're playing actually as well, we're playing in the front foot. We're finishing off teams earlier as well, which is
Yeah.
kind of unheard of. Like, I never used to see Arsenal play like this, like a little mini City. Like, now I'm not going to compare myself to City, but I'm just saying like the way we play is basically how City kind of plays as well, with two inverted fullbacks and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, it's all about the first goal for me. It's all about how we start the game. Because obviously if Tottenham starts pretty much slowly in terms of how they usually are, I think we're going to absolutely destroy them. But
Mm.
obviously form goes out the window. You can't tell. Um, you can't really tell, like, the things. You can't tell how the game's going to start off, but the midfield battle is going to be crucial as well.
Yeah.
Thomas Partey is going to be one of the key players of the game. How he controls the game,
Hmm.
controls the field as well. But yeah, so I can't.
It's
I would.
difficult. It's really difficult. It's the thing is like the atmosphere at Tottenham's ground, as much as you probably hate to say it, like I've been there myself on a European night before with a good friend of mine, and it the atmosphere in the stadium is really really good. I think it's a like the Emirates. It's one of those new stadiums that enclose. It's a big arena, but the atmosphere just obviously being that circle like arena shape, it keeps the atmosphere really really well. And yeah, I think it'll be
Really.
obviously they've got the fan advantage, but like you said, form goes out the window and stuff like this.
And we're really good at away game, like playing away from home this season.
Mm, mm.
Literally, like, beat Chelsea. I mean, not going to be hard. I mean, obviously, like, no disrespect, but we beat like quite a few big teams in the way that we went to games, we went to away games that we normally never used to win there. So, for example, like, obviously, one of my standout away games would be Brentford.
Mm.
Winning there, that's a really difficult place to go. They're
Yeah,
stacked up.
yeah.
Man City, I think they beat Chelsea this season as well.
Hmm.
They beat Chelsea, isn't it?
Who, Brentford?
Yeah, I think they beat Chelsea this season.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Yeah, let's just check. I can't remember. It may have been earlier on in the season, but I'm sure they did. Yeah,
They recently as well. I mean, they drew as well. I
yeah,
think they
yeah.
drew. They drew.
A
And they
little.
beat City as well. They beat quite a few big teams on the way. 4-0. That's one of my standout teams. Even going to Brighton like a few weeks ago, beating them
Yeah.
4-2. That's a really big, impressive win. And I feel like
Well, look at the result against Liverpool today. 3-0 was a massive shock.
absolutely they beat Chelsea as well, at their ground as well. And yeah, there's quite a
Mm,
few shocking results that they actually had done. So I
mm,
mean, fair
mm,
play to us. Like, I feel like I could be confident, but at the same time, like, it's Tottenham, like, it's a North London derby, so I can't really be. I want to be confident. I know if it was, say, for example, this team, it was like a Aston Villa or something. Like, I know they beat Tottenham anyway, but if they had the team that we had going into this game, I feel like we have a chance against Tottenham. But this is Arsenal, and I feel like
mm,
the hatred towards us, and it's a derby as well. That's a different factor. Like, no matter how bad they're
mm,
playing,
mm.
it'll turn up. So can't really underestimate it. But yeah,
No,
and
I agree.
yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, and moving on to Manchester City United. Obviously, they both the two teams actually in the top four. Obviously, they
Yeah.
are point difference as well. They played today. Obviously, United coming on top with a 2-1 win. Yeah, how do you think about what do you
Hmm.
think about the both of the sides as well?
I think I like everyone. Man City, you've got an outrageous team. They've the depth they've got in their squad is amazing. I think that Man United, for me, are the most informed team in the league at the moment. Obviously, winning their last five, they've been really really strong. I think it's easily identifiable that since Ronaldo has left, the dynamic has certainly changed. I think it has been a weight lifted off the players. it's sad, really, because of how obviously how good of a player Ronaldo is. I've got
Yeah.
massive respect for him as what he's done, like saving the team from the calamitous season that they had last season. But I think this season they've really transformed, especially since coming back after the World Cup. They've really picked up their form. Diogo Dalot, right back, is. I thought he had a really good season last at AC Milan, and was a key part to play in their defensive success. Obviously, they won the Scudetto for the first time in a long time, and he's been really good since coming back this season. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka was often questioned with his attacking ability, which is where Dalot is probably stronger.
Absolutely.
But Wan-Bissaka's come back in the squad the last 2 or 3 games since Dalot's been injured, and he's I think he's performed quite well. I don't think he starts over Dalot like in a 50-50, but he's done well, and that's obviously what good sides need to have to be able to win the games that they have and be as up there in that top 3, because for me they were outside the top 5 for me in my prediction at the start of the season, and they've surprised me.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say I feel like with when Ronaldo left, I feel like with Ronaldo, it's always been a burden. It's all about him and putting the.
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning about like obviously he's absolutely great. Had a really great legacy in the game. Obviously, in respect to him, actually, is one of the best players in the world. However, coming into United, aging 37-year-old, it's twilight of the career. So I feel like it held everyone back with his ego, with his obviously he has to be the main man, but I feel like his time is done, and I feel like there was no I feel like it was just like the whole squad was like they're all cramped into like like they were in their shells. And I feel like once Ronaldo left, I feel like without Ronaldo, whenever you see, even when Ronaldo was playing for United, I feel like even when he was on the bench, I felt like it's all shackled. The team actually flows without him. Like you can tell, with or without Ronaldo, like even in the squad, but it's a totally different thing. If, for example, Bruno Fernandes, I feel like there's a player in there, but whenever he's with Ronaldo, it seems so isolated. It seems so isolated. There's a lot of players that kind of stood out for me. Garnacho, Rashford's kind of like into his own, scoring in his 9 consecutive home games actually at the end of the season. He's been a completely different player under as well, and the way they're in their first year of rebuilding as well. Rebuilding their squad actually this year, and I mean in the coming years, like in the next year or so, they could be like in challenging this early process as well, and adding Casemiro is a big plus as well, controlling that midfield, controlling that tempo as well. They have a really good squad as well, even adding the likes of Eriksen on a free transfer.
Very good.
It's very unlike United, how they behave in the transfer market, how they add players.
I think they from speaking to a few people that work there. I've had a few people that I know a few people that have worked at United at the first team level. They're the head of recruitment at Iptown in League One was one of the former recruitment analysts at Manchester United, and I had a chat with him over the summer, and he was saying to me that the pressure of working at Man United and he was saying that there was the pressure of working at such a big club is so big. He said obviously the level of ability that of player and the exposure of football that you have is absolutely incredible, but there's that obviously, as you would expect it, that being an underachieving club obviously from last season, you'd have thought that working at a club like that would be a real joy, but apparently the challenge at the club was really like he felt
Yeah.
the stress, and he said it was a really really good job, and I think he's done really well there. But he's since moved on to he's now the head of recruitment at a really good club in going really good place, I think, in League One. And
That's
his insight to how I think his insight into things at Man United, and the way that he said like the transfers that they've made have been really good. Like Sancho obviously coming in was a really good transfer. I think again the price there's a lot of pressure on the price of these players coming in. He's not been
he's not been
fully
satisfied.
fit. He's not. I don't think he's had a really good stretch of games like he did have at Dortmund, where he's performed consistently well. And obviously, the pressure that the English media brings as well is extremely difficult to work with. And that's just one of the players that they brought in. Obviously, Ronaldo is another one. Like the pulling power that the player brings
Yeah,
is
Manchester.
absolutely incredible.
Well,
The size of the club is one thing, and the player that they bring in as well, like Sancho. Again, using him as an example, one of the most informed players in Europe as a winger, really, really creative player, an English player as well. But as people have seen with English players that are performing very well, they get put on such an elevated pedestal. And after the European Championships and the season where he may have underperformed in a lot of people's eyes, I think he still had a relatively okay season, but to a lot of people, output is measured by the goals and assists that come to that,
yeah,
especially being a forward player. And after the European Championships, he suffered awful abuse, and I think he's got a lot more to give, and I really hope he can, because he's a really really good player, and I think they recruit really well. United, obviously, with how much money they have and the quality of staff that they have access to, I think they recruit really well. I think Weghorst is a good signing, as everybody's making a laugh and a joke. Like
he's a smart
genuinely, I think
player,
he's a
man.
really good player. He's a smart player. He's the sort of player that Ten Hag likes to play. Like if you look at his time at Ajax, they had Sebastian Haller when he was there, and he performed really really well before he got his move to Dortmund in the summer. And
Scored a hat trick.
wherever, yeah, exactly. Well, wherever Ten Hag has been, he likes to play with a really tall number 9. And although Martial for me I really like him as a player, and I think he's done really well this season in the involvement that he has had. He performed really well in pre-season for United as well. It's not the sort of player that Ten Hag likes to use as much
Yeah,
as he would like to. He likes to play with that big number 9 who's
absolutely.
he can hold the ball up well. He can link the play. He's good with his feet, but also he's good in that final third. He provides that clinical touch.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, I know. To be fair, I feel like with his talent ID with Ten Hag, bro is top notch. I can't lie in terms of with the players that he with the likes of Malacia coming into the club.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had quite a few smart signings this summer. It's
Mm.
mainly due to Ten Hag. He knows the Dutch league really well. He has that Dutch market. Like when certain managers come in, they have that. They
Yeah.
have their own players, or they know that market really well. For example, Arsene Wenger. He over the time. After we were signing like French players after French players, he knows that really
Mm-hmm.
he knows how to attack that market really well. And there's a few other managers that has been there. Who was it? One guy actually. It was Dortmund. I think Dortmund no, or Mönchengladbach. I think they use a Swiss market. They use like the Swiss.
Yeah,
They buy most of the Swiss players down there.
that's
They use
right. Yeah, yeah.
the Swiss market, and also like Dortmund, they have like little Bundesliga in terms of like the lower league. No, the
Well,
lower.
Athletic Bilbao is a
Yes.
really really good club for them. So they recruit players that are from the region that their club is in. So they're in the north of Spain, and they recruit players based. Obviously, it's not a massive contributing factor. But they're a really well run club in regards to the recruitment that they have is based around players that live and have played in and around that area in the north of Spain, and that's one of the reasons why they're so obviously they're overshadowed by the likes of Real Madrid, who spend lots of.
Isn't it? They're very strict.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
do they even have any? I don't think they have any foreign players or anything like that. They're strictly no foreign players.
I think they do. I mean, obviously Iñaki Williams has recently transferred his nationality to Ghanaian from Spanish, but I think they are majoritively a Spanish based side. Yeah,
Spanish based side. Even Sociedad as well. They have the same thing.
Yes, very true. I think Sociedad have. I think they've recruited interestingly recently. They Alexander Sorloth from Leipzig, I believe it was. Good. I think he never had his chance to show himself well at Leipzig, so I think it was a good move for him. I don't think he's hit the ground running yet for playing for them, and they've signed a really well tipped young player called Williot Svedberg from Hammarby in Sweden. He's not played much game time at all, but he was very well received. He's a youngster who plays for, I think it's the Sweden under-21s at the moment, and he's only 19 years old, I believe, but he's still a very, very good young player. He's well tipped. I did a bit of research on him towards the summer of 2022 when he started breaking out in the Swedish league as a central midfielder. So I'd keep an eye out for him, hopefully, if he starts to play for Sociedad in the near future. But yeah, they've had a similar sort of way in regards to their Spanish-based players and in their area as well. Yeah,
that's good, man. Like, different teams, different thing, ethos, like different. Mad. But yeah, moving on. Obviously, like quick fire predictions. Obviously, we're heading towards the end of the show as well. Obviously, it's quite late, and I mean, in terms of like obviously, like we discussed, obviously your top 4 predictions, top goal scorer as well. Obviously, and obviously your potential January transfer to look out for. So obviously, what's your top 4 predictions at the moment? A quick fire.
Looking at it, I think Man City 1, Arsenal 2, Newcastle 3, and United 4.
Same. I literally agree with Newcastle actually coming up as well. I should have added the surprise as well. Newcastle would be one of the they're absolutely doing well defensively. They're like, so it's frustrating though, but frustrating to break them down. But they're absolutely killing at the moment with obviously Eddie Howe. I feel like he should be, other than Arteta, he could be another contender for manager of the season, bringing that team from a bottom, all the way to like cementing like Champions League football. It's good to see actually with the players that obviously they're having rich owners as well. It's not rich owners, but they haven't really splashed the cash yet. But they splashed they're splashing the cash in really important areas like Bruno Guimaraes, Sven Botman, and also, there's quite a few other players that they're even looking at. Almiron doing well. He got the best out of it, and most importantly, most improved player is Joel Linton.
Yes, he's since playing as a central midfielder, he's really revitalized his time as a Newcastle player.
It's mad, and he got all these players balling, man. Like, you couldn't bro. Like, honestly, I wouldn't say what kind of manager would do that. Like, Potter.
He was very good at he overachieved. A lot of people saw that he overachieved with that Bournemouth side. Obviously, they had a good squad. Callum Wilson, Josh King, their partnership up front with the two up front that they played was really good. Yeah, I think they had a really good side. Obviously, they had a good side to remain in the Premier League.
Yeah,
technically speaking, yes, but in the way that he runs the team, he runs a team really well. They had Nathan Ake at the back as well. Steve Cook, who I think he's still playing for Nottingham Forest in the Premier League at the minute. Whether he's not getting minutes for them, but like he played really well for them. They always had those play. It was like a Burnley side who would always get results, but and stay in the division.
Yeah, I feel like he's you know, before Bournemouth got relegated, I feel like,
yeah.
I mean, with the budget that Bournemouth have, with the stadium capacity that Bournemouth has, I mean, being there for like 3 seasons is about, and taking them from League Two all the way up, that's a really big achievement as well.
Yeah, no, massive. I really think he's a good coach, and I think obviously he's got almost unlimited finances with Newcastle, but how they spend it is massive. I think Kieran Trippier for me has been arguably one of the players of the season. He's flown under the radar massively. He's been a real big success for them. Really big success for him in his time back in England. He did well in Spain. He had a good season last season, but he's performing really well this season under Eddie Howe.
Absolutely, and also your goal scorer as well, top goal scorer. Obviously, you know the obvious choice.
It's gonna have to be Erling Haaland. He's sort of running away with it already.
Balling, man. This guy's killing it at the moment, but I feel like his goals kind of dried up a little bit, you know. Recently,
he's not been performing as well recently, but I feel like that's due to Man City struggling as well.
I feel like, I don't know, to be fair, like I feel like the standard was too high. Like, if you know what I mean. I feel like the bar he has set it through, and like I feel like the way he's performing now, obviously he got like 2 goals after the World Cup. I think I feel like that's a general normal player. Like, you know,
I think he's a special player. He really is a special player. But the thing is the quality of Haaland is that he can go 4 or 5 games with maybe scoring 2 goals, but then he can score then 5 goals in 3 games again within the click of a finger. So
3 hat-tricks.
That's the sort of player that he is. Exactly.
Back to back. And what would your player of the season be? Like, you know, your young player, like the better, like just general normal players.
I think my young player of the season would probably be Gabriel Martinelli or Bukayo Saka at Arsenal at the moment, just because of how essential they've been for Arsenal. Saka, with not just he's a really good goal provider. He obviously sets up goals and scores goals, but how valuable he is down that right hand side, cutting in, so useful. His link play is really good, and just his general final third play is really dangerous.
Absolutely.
And then Martinelli has scored more goals than he's created this season, I believe. But he's extremely intelligent and very good on the ball. I think very key to Arsenal's success this season. They'd be my young players of the season. I think my overall player of the season, I think, is at the moment is either Haaland or De Bruyne, though.
De Bruyne? Huh?
Yeah,
I don't think it's been all that, to be honest.
Do you not think?
He's dropped off, bro. Like, I feel like this season he looked so dropped off. I don't know why. He's got to put on a little bit of weight, man.
I mean, he's still got he's got 13 contributions in 17 starts, but I think he's just his ability to change games. He's a very consistent performer for Man City, and he's created an extreme number of chances. Like, I think he's in the top 3 or 4 for the most big chances created. He creates 3.4 key chances per game, as the stats that I'm looking at just in front of me now. He's provided 10 assists this season, obviously scoring 3 goals as well. Set piece delivery, both feet, can play off. Although, yes, not as strong out of possession, but his ability in ball playing for me is just he just has the ability to change games. And obviously, Haaland is a very obvious shout with his goal scoring antics, but also his work rate as well. Like, he's shown this season that he can fight for the ball. He's obviously very quick. He's mobile. but he
Yeah.
works hard for his team as well, really, really well.
Absolutely. And so I forgot the question. And also, yeah, that should be fine actually. So yeah, I mean, last but not least, I mean, in terms of like
Mhm.
January transfer window, who do you want us to sign? Who do we need as a players? Like that, the last question, final question, in terms of for Arsenal, or like in terms of
Mhm.
what you guys, what do you think we need as in a team?
I think to look, I'm gonna choose three teams from the league. Just looking at
Yeah,
the top teams, the bottom teams, and someone from the mid table sort of section. Um, from an Arsenal perspective, as the league leaders, I think do you know what? I think they're already quite a complete team. Obviously they've got a really good, strong starting 11. Naturally, as they're top of the league, they've got one of the best starting 11s on paper in the league. I think depth, like you mentioned earlier, Reece Nelson I think he's a Premier League quality midfielder. But when you have Bukayo Saka, who is a premier right winger,
yeah,
he's an extremely good player. To have Reece Nelson as the backup is not as ideal, but I think it's a good level of backup. I think Nketiah is playing well up front. I think in January, I think they just need a player to help bear the load
I feel like
in.
the forward line would be. I feel like a striker would be a must. Um, Obviously, there are kind of options out there. I feel like the Zaha still in the market. I feel like 6 months left in his contract.
Mhm,
Or like 15 million bid for him at the moment. 6 months there, 6 months left for his contract. So obviously, like,
mhm.
we just need players for now. I feel like Tielemans is there. Like, obviously, he's not been the
Yeah,
best, but
yeah.
obviously a cover for midfield as well.
I If you're asking me, I would say they probably need a central midfielder because at the moment, although they've got Partey and Xhaka that play there at the moment, that Xhaka is finding good form in his new found role. I think
Yeah,
he started the season really well, scoring goals and providing, he playing in a more advanced role with Partey sitting a bit deeper. Problem is that the depth outside of that compared to the rest of the squad,
yeah.
obviously Kieran Tierney at left back's a really good option. Ben White can drop back in at centre back if he has to. Takahiro
Vinicius,
Tomiyasu is good, and Zinchenko a really good sign as well. I
put him
think
in with
Nketiah is exactly, yeah. I think, but the problem is that central midfield place where El Neni is again decent player, but he's
decent
not an
player.
outstanding. He's El Neni's decent, but he's not an outstanding player. I
Yeah,
think signing a Yuri Tielemans not now because I don't think he'll leave just yet with his contract being up in 6 months. But signing another centre midfielder for me is probably what they need because if Partey or Xhaka gets a season-ending injury, that would be a huge loss because Lokonga or El Neni being two holding midfielder replacements for them is they don't have the pedigree for a title winning starting role to consistently play through the season. I think they're good role players, but not starters.
yeah. I mean, Fabio Vieira. We signed Fabio Vieira as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about him so far?
I think I've not seen enough of him to make a judgment. I think he looks really good. Obviously, good season at Porto last season, and I think he's a project player for Arsenal with
Hmm.
Odegaard. I think a lot of people expected Odegaard to be good, but he's had a really good, really really good
Yeah.
season in his production. I think he's provided 10 goal contributions this season for Arsenal. I think they pictured maybe to see Vieira playing a bit more, but with how influential Odegaard has been, they don't want to break that form and the bond that he's building with the players and how effective they've been in that front. Those front four have been so effective this season. Good signing. I think he looks really good on paper. The money that they paid is good as well. And the potential ability and again the depth that they have, he looks good when he has played, and I think that he will be a really good player. Um, to pick from the mid-table sort of area, I'm gonna go
Caicedo.
I'm gonna look at Palace, I think, because for me they're a consistently performing side. Who will be? I think they'll finish mid-table. Really good side. Vieira's done really well with them. I think that they need a fullback. Personally speaking, I think Tariq Mitchell's a good left back option. Unfortunately, suspended recently. Good left back option. Potential. I think he was called up to the England squad at some point previously. Really good option at left back for them. Right back, I think, is Joel Ward.
Joel Ward, yes.
And again, very experienced player, very experienced at Premier League level, and a good player. But I think for them to push forward and get to the likes of the Brentford, the Brighton, they need a really strong right back option. I think as somebody that can get forward. Patrick Van Aanholt is somebody that, although as he played as a fullback, I think he played as more of a left back than a right back. But he stuck out to me because he was so well. He did so well going forwards for them, and that's what modern day fullbacks are or wing backs are looking to do. It's so important that they have to be able to go forwards. Mitchell's good defensively, but he can also get forward and link that play into the midfield. Ward isn't as mobile as Wan-Bissaka was before when he got his move to United a few years ago, and I think they just haven't recruited that elite right back that they could. I think they recruited well in Eberechi Eze and Michael Elise, really, really good players. I do think they may need another forward to replace Ayew as well. I think he's living on borrowed time in regards to they haven't really got a player that can compete with him in regards to his, again, Premier League standard player, good player. Yeah. But if they were just to sign another player of the standard of Elise, Eze, who can play, but who plays in that wide area. I like their strikers. I like Odsonne Edouard. I like Mateta. Good players that they've shown on their day. Edouard, very good for Celtic before he come in to Palace. He hasn't had a really strong run of starts, but again, Zaha sort of steals the show for them season on season. So I'd say, yeah, a fullback for Palace for me is probably most important. If not, maybe another attacking option. I like their midfield. The midfield three is good. Sheikh Doucouré is a good player in the middle of midfield for them. And then towards the bottom of the table, I'm gonna stay away from Southampton because I think they recruit well because they've got a really good group of young players. Their new head of recruitment has come in from Man City, I believe. And he's taken a few players from Man City, like Samuel Edozie. I think Bazunu was at Man City as well, potentially. They've brought in Sekou Mara from the French, I think from French Ligue 1, and they've recruited well for young players. But I think for the Premier League, they're not just ready yet. Bella Kotchap's a good signing as well. They've signed a lot of young players who are very well touted.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to look at potentially Everton or Wolves. I think Wolves need a centre back. I think they are in the market for a centre back, especially. I know since Lopetegui's come into Wolves, they've looked to play more of a 4-back than a 3-back, but Kilman hasn't performed as well as he did last season. Obviously, really, really good player. Performed really well last season. But since losing both Willy Boly and Connor Cody, they're two massive figures of that team. They were senior figures in the squad. I think Nathan Collins is a good centre-back. It was a good signing from Burnley, having just gone down. But I think they need to bring in that third centre-back who's a really cemented, experienced player, whether that's from Spain, where Lopetegui is looking to bring in players from at the minute, or from Portugal, where obviously Wolves are so good at recruiting from. And I think Everton, I think they need to replace Richarlison because
Absolutely.
They've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin. They've got Calvert-Lewin's. I think he's a good player. I think like he's performed well. He's performed well in 2 previous seasons. Like he had an electric start to the season, I think last season, but he's been plagued with injury since coming in, and he struggled. Say again.
He's got 3 and 3.
Yes, yeah. He's
1 goal this season though.
Yeah, so Calvert-Lewin hasn't performed as well this season. I think he's been hit with a lot of injuries. I think he needs. I don't know what formation they like to play. Unfortunately, because now that they've started playing a back 3 with the number of centre backs they've got, I think defensively I think they've got a good group of central defenders. Everton, Connor Cody, James Tarkowski, both very well proven central defenders. Ben Godfrey is a really good young player as well. Yerry Mina is, although looking to be potentially leaving soon, I think he's another good player who's performed well. Iwobi's another player that's sort of had a resurgence now, moving into the centre of midfield away from the wing.
Onana as well.
Yeah, and Amadou Onana's a really good player who they signed from Liga. Again, he's a really good player, scored today. But I feel like in that 4-3-3 that they played last season, Demarai Gray potentially overachieving with the start to the season that he had. I think Everton performed well at the start of the season and tailed off towards the end. I like Mykolenko, another Ukrainian player I think he's a good left back. Again, another player that I did a bit of looking at when working at the club that I previously was at. I just think they need another 9. That if they're going to keep playing this 3-5-2, they need an out and out striker, because I think Gray is more of a wing player than.
Where's the goals going to be anyway? Like, struggling for goals, man.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all good, man. Thank you very much for your time, Jakey boy. And,
no problem, mate.
Been good speaking with you. We should do this quite a few times, man. Regular stuff, man. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. You spoke well, and yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for coming on. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Take care, my people. Goodbye. God bless. Much love. Thank you. Cheers. Wait.